You work 40 hours for this, and 90% disappears before you blink. Do you work for money or for taxes and inflation?
$200,000 a year, nice car, big house, zero in the bank. Sound familiar?
He said, I don't get it, Jim.
Do you work for money or for taxes and inflation? That's the question most people have never truly thought about. We spend our whole lives earning money, but very few ever learn how to keep it. And when they look back, they realize what remains isn't wealth, but bills. I once told a friend, it doesn't matter how much you make. What matters is how much you keep after every storm in life. You can work hard. You can earn a high income. But if you don't know how to protect your results, all your efforts can vanish in a breeze like dust in the desert of finance. Money has a strange rule. It only stays with those who respect it. Those who see money as a tool keep it. Those who see money as magic lose it. Keeping what you earn is not just a financial lesson, but a principle of life. Protect your effort, protect your value, and respect every dollar you've traded your time and sweat for. In today's video, I want to share with you 7 principles that help you keep what truly belongs to you. Principles that help you step out of the earn then lose cycle and begin truly building financial freedom. And you should stay until the end because principle number 7 is the key most people overlook. Yet, it's the very thing that decides whether money will work for you or you will work for money forever. Principle 1: Reduce leakage, increase wealth speed. Most people ask, how can I make more money? Very few ask, how can I lose less? But that difference in question creates the difference in results. I once met a man in California. He was hardworking, talented, and held a high position in his company. Each year, he earned nearly $200,000, a number many dream of. He drove a nice car, lived in a beautiful home, and seemed to have everything. But when we sat down for a private conversation, he looked down at his coffee cup and said, sadly, Jim, I don't get it. I work day and night. I'm making more than ever. Yet at the end of the month, my account is still empty. I paused for a moment and smiled. I said, because you're rowing a leaking boat. He looked at me puzzled. I explained, you can row fast, row hard, row for hours every day. But if there's a small hole at the bottom, no matter how hard you try, water will still come in and the boat will sink. Your money is the same. No matter how much you earn, if you don't patch the leaks in your pocket, you'll never get far. We often think of wealth as a race. Whoever earns more wins. But in that race, some don't run the fastest, they just lose less, and they reach the finish line before everyone else. I once asked an older businessman in Phoenix, what's your secret to staying wealthy for decades? He smiled and said, I'm not the best at making money, Jim. I just lose less than others. That answer made me think for a long time because it was so simple that most people ignore it. Most people think the speed of getting rich depends on income. But the truth is, the speed of getting rich depends on leakage. If you earn $10,000 a month and spend $9,900, you're moving very slowly. But if you earn $5,000 and keep $2,000, you're moving much faster than most. Wealth isn't the result of impulse. It's the result of discipline and awareness to keep what you have. I often compare money to the water in your garden. If you let it flow away carelessly, the plants will wither no matter how much you pour. But if you channel it properly, keeping some to soak into the soil, your garden will stay green even in dry seasons. Your finances work the same way. If you let your efforts leak away through invisible cracks of spending habits, you'll find yourself exhausted in the current of life, even while working hard every day. They're small leaks. We don't notice monthly subscriptions we no longer use, fancy dinners just to relieve stress, impulse buys we make in the heat of the moment. Each time we think it's just a few dollars. But those few dollars, repeated over years, grow large enough to swallow an entire dream. And then we wonder why we're still not financially free. Reducing leakage doesn't just help you keep money. It helps you develop the habit of seeing the bigger picture. When you learn to observe small flows, you begin to understand how the whole river moves. When you learn to keep, you learn respect for your own effort. And when you respect every dollar, money begins to respect you. I once told a student, patch your boat before learning to row faster. Because if you keep trying to raise your income without fixing your spending, all your effort becomes an endless chase. The faster you run, the more tired you get, and you never reach the goal. Reducing leakage is the first step toward freedom. It's not flashy, not dramatic, but it's the foundation of all lasting wealth. When you start controlling what flows out of your pocket, you move much closer to controlling your life. And from here, there's something important you must understand. If you don't know the rules of the financial game, you can still lose money even after learning to save. Because in this world, laws don't just exist to restrict. They also serve those who know how to use them. And that's why the next principle is so important, because if you don't understand the law, all your efforts to keep money will soon fade. Let's explore how to make the law work for you instead of against you. Principle 2: understand the law so the law serves you. One reason many people lose money isn't because they lack opportunity, but because they don't understand the rules of the game. And when you don't understand the rules, you always lose, no matter how hard you try. I once told a group of young entrepreneurs, in the financial world, the law isn't there to punish. It's there to guide. But if you don't know how to read it, it will punish you. Most people ignore the law. They think taxes, interest rates, deductions, investments are all too complicated, too distant. They avoid them. And that avoidance becomes their trap. The poor and middle class often think, I don't need to understand. I just need to work hard. But the rich think differently. They learn to control the law, not be controlled by it. I remember attending a meeting in Texas where a seasoned investor shared his story. He wasn't the smartest person in the room, nor did he start with any advantages. But he said, I studied financial law the way a musician studies notes. Because I understood that only when I knew the structure could I create within it. He said that early in his business, he lost heavily because he didn't understand depreciation rules. He paid more taxes than he should have simply because he didn't know the government allowed companies to deduct equipment investments over several years. When he started learning, reading, asking experts, talking to accountants and lawyers, everything changed. He realized the law isn't the enemy. The law is the map. If you know how to read the map, you reach your destination faster than those guessing the way. I've also seen many skilled, hard-working people with stable incomes slowly drained by basic laws they didn't understand. They don't know how to protect assets from risk. They don't know that setting up a company properly can separate personal risk from business risk. They don't know that tax laws can ease their burden if they invest in education or create jobs for others. I'm not saying you need to be a lawyer. I'm saying you should understand enough to know how the game works. Because money doesn't just move by effort, it moves by law. Those who don't understand the law work harder. Those who do work smarter. Think about this. The same dollar, one person turns it into an investment tool, another turns it into a burden. The difference isn't in the money, it's in understanding. If you know long-term investments get tax advantages, you'll choose to hold assets instead of short-term trades. If you know that contributing to a retirement or education fund gets tax deductions, you'll prepare early. If you understand that creating value for society is always rewarded, you'll choose a sustainable path. Law may seem dry, but behind it lies a subtle principle. Society rewards those who create value. And governments always have systems to protect and support those helping the economy grow. So when you invest in the right things, education, business, job creation, you're moving with the law, not against it. I once told a young person, don't let fear blind you to the law. Let understanding turn you into someone the law protects. Because in the financial game, ignorance is the most expensive tax. Those who don't learn pay with money. Those who don't understand pay with time. And those who don't correct pay with freedom. Take a moment to ask yourself, am I living within the law's framework or bound by it without knowing? Am I being drained by taxes or learning how to make taxes reward me? You can't change the law, but you can change your position within it from being controlled to being protected. Keeping what you earn isn't just about saving. It's about understanding the game you're playing. And in this world, those who understand deeply always have the advantage. But understanding the law isn't just a passive knowledge, it's about actively applying it in ways that align with your goals. Let's delve deeper into this. Imagine the financial system as a vast ocean. The waves are market fluctuations, the currents are economic trends, and the laws are the navigational charts that experienced sailors use to steer their ships safely to harbor. Without those charts, even the strongest rower might end up lost at sea or dashed against rocks they never saw coming. I've counseled countless individuals who started their journeys with enthusiasm, only to find themselves adrift because they neglected to study the maps. One such person was a budding entrepreneur from New York. He had a brilliant idea for a tech startup, poured his savings into it, and watched it take off initially. But when tax season came, he was hit with penalties for improper filings, and legal oversights in his contracts led to disputes that drained his resources. He confided in me, "Jim, I thought passion was enough." I replied, "Passion fuels the engine, but law steers the wheel. Without it, you're just burning fuel in circles. To truly make the law serve you, start small. Begin by familiarizing yourself with basic concepts like asset protection through trusts or LLCs, which can shield your personal wealth from business liabilities. Learn about estate planning to ensure your hard-earned assets pass smoothly to your loved ones without excessive probate costs or taxes. Understand how intellectual property laws can turn your ideas into protected revenue streams. These aren't esoteric topics reserved for the elite, they're tools available to anyone willing to invest time in learning. I recommend starting with accessible resources, books like Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, which breaks down complex ideas into relatable stories, or online courses on platforms like Coursera that cover financial literacy. Attend local seminars or join financial communities where experts share insights. The key is consistency. Dedicate just 15 minutes a day to reading or listening, and over months, you'll build a foundation that transforms how you navigate finances. Moreover, understanding the law empowers you to anticipate changes. Laws evolve with society. For instance, recent shifts in remote work policies have opened new deductions for home offices, or incentives for green investments like solar panels that offer tax credits. By staying informed through newsletters from reliable sources like the IRS website or financial news outlets, you position yourself to adapt proactively rather than reactively. This proactive stance isn't about gaming the system, it's about aligning your actions with societal benefits. When you create jobs, you're not just building your business, you're contributing to community stability, and laws often reward that with deductions or credits. When you invest in education, whether your own or others, you're fostering innovation, and again, the law provides incentives. In my years of mentoring, I've seen this principle turn lives around. A single mother in Atlanta, struggling with debt, began studying basic tax laws and discovered she qualified for earned income credits she hadn't claimed before. That extra refund became seed money for a side hustle that grew into a full-time business. Her story illustrates that the law, when understood, democratizes opportunity. It's not a barrier, it's a ladder. But to climb it, you must grasp each rung. So, commit today to demystifying the law. Hire a financial advisor if needed, but don't outsource your understanding entirely, own it. Because when the law serves you, every financial decision becomes a step toward empowerment, not entrapment. Principle 3: Legal tax optimization. When I talk about taxes, many people sigh. Taxes to them are something complicated, dry, even scary. But I always say, don't fear taxes, understand taxes, because understanding is what separates those who work for money from those who make money work for them. I'm not talking about tax evasion. Tax evasion is illegal. I'm talking about optimizing taxes, fully legal, transparent, and encouraged. There's a truth many people don't realize: the government doesn't want you to be poor. They want you to help the economy grow, and they reward those who do. If you invest in education, you're elevating human capability. If you start a business, you're creating jobs. If you invest for the long term, you're helping build a stable economy. And tax law, in all its forms, always has rewards for those who create real value. I once met a man in Arizona who owned a small company with only 6 employees. In his first year, he worked day and night, and revenue grew sharply. But at year's end, when he got his tax notice, he nearly collapsed, more than 40% of his profits due. He came to me puzzled and asked, "Jim, I work hard. I create jobs. Why am I still taxed so heavily?" I smiled and said, it's not the state punishing you. They just reward people who know the rules. I connected him with a financial professional who helped him understand deduction rules. He set up an employee training fund that qualified for tax relief. He shifted to long-term investing instead of short-term trading, lower taxable gains. He contributed to retirement plans for himself and his employees, also tax-advantaged. A year later, he saved tens of thousands of dollars without breaking a single law. And he told me, "Jim, I realized the law wasn't against me. I just didn't understand it before." Taxes, in reality, are the language of value. If you're creating sustainable value, the law will lighten your load. If you only consume and don't create, the law will take its share. People who understand taxes don't see them as the enemy, but as a strict teacher pointing out what truly benefits society. So when you invest in knowledge, entrepreneurship, product development, job creation, the law stands with you. I know many people complain that the rich don't pay as much tax as they think. But the truth is, the rich don't evade taxes. They play by the rules. And they understand those rules well enough to make them work in their favor. They know tax codes are systems that incentivize good behavior. And they choose to act in ways the law rewards, not punishes. You can do the same by studying, reading, asking. No one requires you to become an expert, but you can become financially aware. I want you to understand this clearly: every dollar you keep legally is a dollar of freedom. Every amount saved through tax optimization is a brick in a solid financial foundation. And what's even better, the money you keep today isn't just for keeping. It can become investment capital, helping you create more value, give others jobs, and strengthen the economy. That's how the value flywheel works. You understand the law. The law rewards you. You invest. Society develops. The law continues to encourage you. So instead of complaining about taxes, ask, how can I be rewarded more by the law? Instead of avoiding, learn. Instead of fearing, use it as a bridge. When you know how to legally optimize taxes, you don't just keep more, you step up to a new level of thinking. The mindset of a creator, not a sufferer. And if you feel these lessons truly resonate, hit subscribe to continue the journey with me, where we not only learn how to make money but how to protect it and multiply it wisely. Because keeping money is only the first step. The next question is, what will you do with it? Let's move on to the next principle, where every dollar saved today can become a new cash flow tomorrow. To expand on legal tax optimization, let's break it down further. First, understand the basics of deductions and credits. Deductions reduce your taxable income, like business expenses or charitable donations. Credits reduce your tax bill directly, such as for childcare or energy-efficient home improvements. For example, if you're a freelancer, tracking home office expenses can deduct a portion of your rent or utilities. If you're a parent, education credits for tuition can offset costs. These aren't loopholes, they're intentional incentives designed to encourage positive actions. Consider retirement accounts like 401(k), S or IRAs. Contributions often reduce your current taxable income, and growth is tax-deferred or even tax-free in Roth versions. This is the government saying, plan for your future, and we'll help you. For business owners, Section 179 allows immediate deduction of equipment purchases, accelerating depreciation to free up cash flow sooner. Real estate investors benefit from 1031 exchanges, deferring capital gains taxes when swapping properties. These strategies require planning, but the payoff is immense. I've advised clients who, by simply switching from short-term stock trading, taxed at ordinary income rates, to long-term holding, taxed at lower capital gains rates, save thousands annually. One client, a software developer, maximized his tax savings by contributing to a health savings account, HSA, which offers triple tax advantages, pre-tax contributions, tax-free growth, and tax-free withdrawals for medical expenses. He turned a necessary expense into a wealth-building tool. But optimization isn't just for the wealthy. Even on a modest income, itemizing deductions instead of taking the standard one can make a difference if you have high medical bills or mortgage interest. Charitable giving not only helps others but provides deductions. Donate appreciated stocks to avoid capital gains taxes altogether. The key is documentation. Keep receipts, use apps like Mint or QuickBooks to track, and consult a CPA annually. Remember, the IRS provides free resources like Publication 17 for guidance. Critics might say this favors the rich, but anyone can learn. Start with free tools from TurboTax or H&R Block's educational blogs. Join forums like Reddit's or /personal finance for real-world tips. The goal is empowerment, turning taxes from a burden into a strategic ally. By optimizing legally, you're not just saving money, you're aligning your finances with broader economic good, creating a virtuous cycle of growth and reward. Principle 4. Reinvest the money you saved. One of the most common mistakes people make is when they keep some money, they see it as a reward to spend more. But the financially smart understand, money kept isn't for extra spending. It's for extra investing. Every dollar you save today is a seed for the future. But a seed only has real value when it's planted, not stored in a drawer. I once met a woman in Denver. She worked at an accounting firm with a modest salary, just over $3,000 a month. But unlike many her age, she didn't shop much or chase trends. She saved $300 a month. And instead of letting it sit idle, she chose to invest in a simple, steady index fund. 20 years later, she no longer had to work for money. Money worked for her. And when I asked why, she simply said, "I'm not wealthy because I earn more, Jim. I just use my savings to sow seeds, not let them lie still." That story reminds me of a simple principle very few live by: when you spend, money leaves you. When you invest, money starts working for you. The difference isn't in the amount, but in the purpose. Many people save out of fear of lack, fear of loss, fear of risk. And that fear makes them put money in places so safe that the money falls asleep. But those with a wealthy mindset understand, true safety isn't in holding tight, but in making money grow. A dollar saved, if not reinvested, will gradually lose value over time. Inflation doesn't care how hard you work. It only asks whether you let your money stand still. And if you let it stand still, you're slowing down while the world moves forward. I often use this metaphor: money is like the water in a stream. If you let it run through your hands, it disappears. If you block it completely, it becomes stagnant. But if you direct it into fields, places that can generate new life, you're letting that water create harvests. Reinvestment is the act of a far-sighted person. You're not just thinking about today, you're planting for tomorrow. An old tree doesn't grow in one season, but a wise farmer keeps sowing every year. Because he understands time is the friend of growth. I once asked a successful friend in San Francisco, "What keeps your cash flow steady even when the market goes up and down?" He answered, "I don't wait for big opportunities. I reinvest in small ones." He didn't invest in flashy things. He invested in knowledge, skills, and tools that made his work more effective. He let every bit of savings create value, small but consistent. And that consistency created true freedom. Reinvestment doesn't have to be stocks or real estate. Sometimes the best investment is in yourself: a course, a book, a relationship, a new skill, because those yield long-term returns no one can steal. I once said, if you want to double your income, double your value. And the fastest way to do that is to use the money you kept to expand your own capacity. Keeping money isn't just an action. It's an attitude, a declaration that you respect your effort. And reinvesting the money you saved is proof that you believe in your own future. Remember, every dollar you keep, if placed well, will return to you as a new stream, bringing opportunity, freedom, and peace of mind. But there's a kind of leakage more silent than inflation or taxes: leakage from ignorance. And if you don't see it, you might be paying the most expensive tax of your life without even knowing it. Let's move on to the next principle. To truly grasp reinvestment, consider the power of compound interest, often called the eighth wonder of the world by Albert Einstein. It's not just growth, it's growth on growth. For instance, if you invest $100 at 7% annual return, in 1 year it's $107. But the next year, you earn 7% on $107, and so on. Over 30 years, that $100 becomes over $761 without adding more. Now imagine reinvesting saved money monthly. The snowball effect is exponential. This is why starting early matters: time amplifies returns. Diversify your reinvestments to mitigate risk. Don't put all eggs in one basket. A balanced portfolio might include low-cost index funds tracking the S&P 500 for broad market exposure, bonds for stability, or real estate through REITs for income. For personal development, reinvest in certifications that boost your career. A $500 course could lead to a $10,000 raise. Or start a side business. Many millionaires have multiple income streams. I've seen reinvestment transform lives. A teacher I mentored saved $200 monthly from her salary and invested in dividend stocks. Over a decade, those dividends covered her vacations, then her mortgage. She said, "Jim, it's like planting an orchard: initial effort, lifelong fruit." Avoid common pitfalls like chasing hot tips or timing the market. Instead, use dollar cost averaging, invest fixed amounts regularly to smooth out volatility. Reinvestment also builds resilience. During economic downturns, those with invested savings have buffers, while spenders scramble. It's a mindset shift from consumer to producer. Ask yourself, is this expense a cost or an investment? A gym membership might seem like spending, but if it boosts health and productivity, it's reinvestment. Track your progress with apps like Vanguard or Fidelity, and celebrate milestones to stay motivated. Ultimately, reinvestment turns savings into legacy. It's not about greed, it's about creating abundance that benefits you, your family, and society. By planting those seeds today, you harvest a forest of opportunities tomorrow. Principle 5: Ignorance is the most expensive tax. There's a tax most people are paying without knowing it. It doesn't appear on any form, nor is it collected by the government. It's the tax of ignorance. I've seen hundreds of hard-working people grind for a lifetime, yet still feel short on money. They aren't lazy. They aren't foolish. They just lack financial knowledge. And that lack makes them lose more than any other tax. I once said at a seminar, if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. And the room fell silent because none of us want to admit we're being penalized not by others, but by our own lack of understanding. I once met a man in Florida. He worked in real estate, and he came to me one day looking worried. He said, "Jim, I just lost nearly $50,000 on a deal. I don't understand why. I did everything on gut feel, and I guess I chose wrong." I asked him, "Do you understand the rules around real estate investing? Did you read the contract carefully before signing?" He went quiet. I said, "Then you didn't lose money to risk, you lost it to ignorance." Then I told him about my younger days. I had also lost thousands just by trusting without verifying, by assuming everyone knows, by being too lazy to learn. Until I realized ignorance is never free. You either pay to learn or pay the price for not learning. Ignorance isn't limited to finance. It creeps into every part of life. Don't understand health, you pay with illness. Don't understand emotions, you pay with broken relationships. Don't understand time, you pay with a life wasted. And don't understand money, you pay with stolen freedom. Someone once told me, "But Jim, I don't have time to learn about finances." I smiled. There will come a time when you have plenty. When your money isn't enough to keep you busy anymore. The world doesn't reward the hardest worker. It rewards the one who understands the game best. Just like you can't win at chess without knowing how the pieces move, many people work hard like dutiful pawns, inching forward step by step. While those who understand the rules use strategy, making every move purposeful. And the strange thing is, just a bit of understanding and the whole picture changes. When you understand compound interest, you start respecting time. When you understand cash flow, you don't spend what you haven't earned. When you understand risk, you protect instead of panic. Knowledge unlocks freedom, while ignorance locks you in fear. I want you to pause and ask yourself, how much am I paying for my ignorance each month? Not in bills, but in missed opportunities. Opportunities to invest, to learn, to expand. Opportunities to live proactively instead of reactively. Every time you say, "I don't know," and don't try to find out, you levy another tax on yourself. And the sad part is, this tax has no cap. It grows with every year you delay. If you want to keep what you earn, you must start keeping knowledge. Don't let the world take your money simply because you don't understand how it works. Read one more book. Listen to one more lecture. Ask one more question. Because every bit of knowledge you gain today will save you thousands in the future. Ignorance is darkness. Learning is the lamp. And with just a little light, you'll see the road more clearly, the road to true freedom, not by luck, but by awakening. And once you understand that knowledge is the shield of your finances, the next question is, what will you use it for? The wise don't chase expansion before they master preservation. Let's move on to the next principle. To combat the tax of ignorance, let's explore practical steps. First, assess your knowledge gaps. Do you know the difference between good debt, like a mortgage that appreciates, and bad debt, credit cards for consumption? Can you read a balance sheet or calculate net worth? If not, start there. Free resources abound. Khan Academy offers financial literacy courses, Investopedia explains terms simply, and podcasts like The Dave Ramsey Show provide daily insights. Build a learning habit. Set aside time weekly, perhaps Sunday evenings, to review finances. Use books like The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham for investing wisdom or Your Money or Your Life by Vicki Robin for mindset shifts. Join study groups or online communities. Accountability accelerates learning. Seek mentors, network at events or through LinkedIn to find experienced guides. Apply knowledge incrementally. Start with budgeting. Track income versus expenses using tools like NAB. You need a budget. Learn about emergency funds. Aim for 3 to 6 months' expenses in a high-yield savings account. Dive into investing. Understand diversification to spread risk or passive versus active strategies. Avoid scams by recognizing red flags like guaranteed high returns. Ignorance often stems from myths, like investing is gambling. In reality, educated investing is calculated risk. Or I need lots of money to start. No, micro-investing apps like Acorns round up purchases to invest pennies. Overcome fear by starting small. A $50 monthly investment in an ETF teaches without high stakes. In my experience, those who pay the ignorance tax suffer compound losses, not just money, but time and peace. A client lost retirement savings to high-fee funds because he didn't know about expense ratios. And now, when you've learned 7 principles to keep what you earn, let's close this journey to revisit the core. Wealth doesn't start with money. It starts with honoring your own value. We've gone through 7 principles, 7 steps to keep what you deserve, so every drop of sweat you shed today doesn't go to waste. You've learned that reducing leakage is the fastest way to build wealth. Understanding the law keeps you from being bound by the system itself. Legal tax optimization is a reward for those who create real value. Reinvesting savings is sowing seeds for tomorrow's freedom. Ignorance is the most expensive tax you might pay. Preservation before expansion is the foundation of sustainability. And automation is how discipline lives on even when you're tired. Those 7 principles aren't just a financial formula. They're a life philosophy. Protect your effort, honor your value, and sow renewed faith in the future. I want you to remember one thing: freedom doesn't begin when you have a lot of money. It begins when you know how to keep what you have. Because freedom isn't a result. It's a habit. The habit of management. The habit of learning. The habit of staying true to principles. If these lessons have resonated with you, like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and hit subscribe to continue the journey with me, where we don't just talk about money, we talk about the philosophy of mastering life. Remember, don't wish life were easier. Wish you were stronger. Because when you're strong enough, you don't just make money, you keep it, and you live worthy of every dollar you create. Protect your seeds. From them, the harvest of freedom will come. See you in the next video, where we continue sowing the seeds of wisdom and discipline. To wrap this up with deeper reflection, consider how these principles interconnect. Reducing leakage creates the surplus for tax optimization and reinvestment. Understanding law and combating ignorance provide the knowledge for preservation and automation. It's a holistic system, not isolated steps. Apply them gradually, start with one, master it, then layer the next. Track progress in a journal, note leaks plugged, laws learned, investments made. Over time, you'll see transformation. Share these with loved ones. Financial freedom is communal. In a world of distractions, these principles anchor you. They remind that true wealth is internal peace from knowing your efforts are protected. Embrace them and watch your life flourish.